Welcome to First Bite, our Detroit Lions midweek podcast as part of the Pride of Detroit podcast nation. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the editor-in-chief of Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online. We have a very special episode for you this week. As always, we like to bring you midweek interviews. This week is no different. But before we get to our guests, let me bring in our other co-host, Ryan Matthews, senior editor of Pride of Detroit at Ryan_POD. How are we doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for what we have in store for the people's ears this week, man.
Yeah, it's a big one. As our live Twitch audience is funding my trip down to the Senior Bowl this year, and I'm very excited to go. And to help us preview Senior Bowl week, we got the person to talk to about the Senior Bowl, and that is Executive Director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, at Jim Nagy_SB on Twitter. Jim, thank you so much for making some time for us.
Yeah, Jeremy, Ryan, thanks for having me on. This is gonna be fun. I love talking Lions.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if people know this about you, but you're a local guy. You're a fellow U of M grad, which I appreciate. I'm not sure about Ryan, but also you grew up with the Lions. So talk about that and how that kind of weighs your week, especially this week where you got the whole Lions crew coming down there.
Yeah, grew up a Lions fan, being a native Michigander. I was diehard, man. Like you talk to anyone that grew up in Traverse City around my time, like there wasn't a bigger Lions fan. So we'd have Lions parties at the house. I mean, I've got 3 seats from the Silverdome here in the office that I bought a couple of years ago. So our big family trip every year was going to the Lions Thanksgiving Day game. So I had family down in the Detroit area that I had an uncle that had season tickets. So yeah, grew up loving the team, but that flipped pretty quick. My first job out of college was at the Packers. And when you see that G on your paycheck, your allegiances kind of shift pretty quickly. So I grew up hating the Packers, but I was there in '96. The year we won the Super Bowl that year. So I made a quick flip. I became a Packers fan, and then once I started getting paid by the Patriots and the Chiefs and the Seahawks, like my allegiances were out the door. But I always stay connected to the Lions because my dad still lives up in Traverse City. My parents live up in TC, and my dad's a lifelong Lions fan. So I go through that with him.
I was gonna say not so hard to make a transition in '96 when you got a guy like Desmond Howard on the team, right? So
yeah, that was awesome. Des had an awesome year. As cool as a Michigan alum. Des was leaving when I was coming in. We missed each other by like a year, so to be up there that year, and Des was such a big part of that team and our playoff run, and then to reconnect with him years later working at ESPN through this job. Has been a lot of fun,
Very cool.
Having that connection.
Well, I mean, let's get into some Senior Bowl talk. I mean, the slogan of the Senior Bowl is the draft starts in mobile. And, I guess it seems like the Senior Bowl has just been getting bigger and bigger every year. Like more of the top guys have been coming every single year. And this year is definitely no exception. So why do you think it's grown as much as it has? And why is it such an important event for some of these guys that are going to be down there participating this week?
Well, why it's grown, I don't know. I mean, I've been here 4 years, and we really tried to use social media for a few things. One, to connect with players and help us recruit. Just hearing stories from Phil Savage, my predecessor, who is the GM of the Cleveland Browns. He was really good when I was making this transition. And social media has been big to connect with the guys. And 2, it's been really tried to use what I do on Twitter to pull back the curtain on our game and really pull back the curtain on scouting in general. Yeah. I think there's always been kind of a cloak of secrecy around how all-star rosters were picked and, why things in scouting are the way they are. So that's all I've tried to do. And in terms of our game and the visibility, it's been a great game forever. They've had great players in this game forever. But I just think there is more spotlight on it, again, because I think social media has been huge. In 2018, our first year here, we had like 15 million impressions the entire year. And this year we went over 350 million impressions. So there's just a lot more eyeballs on it. Like the 2020 game week, January 2020, we were at 26 million impressions for that month. Last year, January 2021, we were at 76 million. So we tripled it in 1 year. I'm looking forward to see what this January's numbers end up looking like. But That's really part. This game's been awesome forever. They've been bringing great players. I do feel like, bringing in a scouting staff, which we've done, I got a bunch of experienced NFL scouts, has helped the rosters for sure. But no, I walked into a good situation. Phil did a great job here, and we're just trying to take it to that next level.
Yeah, I think what's really exciting about this year, Jim, is the new rules that you have with coaching, and the head coach is now moving into an advisor role, helping out the assistant coaches. What was the genesis of making that kind of change to the Senior Bowl and how it all works?
Yeah, it was a phone call last summer with Troy Vincent at the league office. Not to share all our conversations, but we talked about a couple things. Like he really wanted this to serve as a nice developmental opportunity for assistant coaches, which we're obviously very, very behind. I mean, I think there's no downside to that, right? Having Dan Campbell here, it's important to have Dan here. He's the face of the franchise, he and Brad Holmes. But to give those other guys, and we don't know who that's going to be yet, if that's going to be Deuce Staley getting bumped up into the head coaching role and, or Aaron Glenn or somebody, like how that shakes out, I don't know, but it is a great opportunity for those guys to kind of take the reins of the team. A position coach being elevated into a coordinator role. So that's all great. And then the other element to the coaching thing, which also came up on that call, was with the HBCU coaches that we're going to include in the week as well. Tyrone Wheatley being one of those guys. Another thing that came up on the call, I think there was some, a little bit of grumbling from other teams that don't coach in the game. Like, hey, that's not really fair. Like these teams get such an advantage spending all that time with the two teams, with all these players. And, my point was, well, they earned that, right? Like the Detroit Lions earned the right to play, coach in this game. And hopefully for their sake, they won't be back down here for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully they don't earn that again.
No. A couple of years ago, the 49ers were in the game. Yeah. And the next year they flipped it and went to the Super Bowl. 2 years ago, the Bengals were down here with the Lions staff, and now they're in the AFC Championship game. So, and they took 5 or 6 guys out of that game, a couple of years ago, the Bengals did, that are playing critical roles for them. So, getting Joe Burrow helps. but so again, it's important we have the staffs here. It's built for parity. That's why the NFL is great. That's why when I was a Lions fan in the late 70s and through the 80s and early 90s, I felt like they had a chance to do something special every year. I'd watch those NFL films videos on ESPN like you guys do. Yep. And I'd get all juiced up about, what the Lions were going to be that year. There's always hope. That's what the league, that's why the NFL is great. There's always hope, and there's hope because of parity. And this is just one of those mechanisms for parity within the NFL is our coaching staffs. So, now for those teams that were grumbling, now we're going to have 4 men down here coaching in our game that are going to be in all the meeting rooms, in the staff meetings at night when all the different coaches are talking about their guys and how they were on the field that day and how they were in the meeting room that day. They'll leave here with all that information. And now the 30 other GMs can reach out to those 4 men and, get that information if they want it. And hopefully that will create some connections with those 4 coaches. Like I said, T. Wheat being one of them. If he has aspirations to get back in the NFL where he's been before, hopefully that helps make connections with some of these new GMs and head coaches that are being hired right now.
That's really good insight into how it works in terms of both building those, coaching rosters and kind of the advantage that the Lions are going to have next week. And I'm glad that you brought up Dan Campbell being there, because I think a lot of people looked at that new rule and they're like, well, what about Dan? Like, Dan Campbell's such an important part to the Lions' identity. He needs to be there. He's going to be there. I mean, he's not just going to be, in a shed. He's going to be there, and I imagine pretty involved, right?
Yeah, he'll be very involved. Again, it's important to us. He brings a ton of juice, as Robert Saleh does. Like, yeah. There's going to be an energy level at practice. I mean, I know Dan Campbell's going to be in an advisory role, but there's no way that dude's going to be on a football field and not bring in the energy that he has. So right. I don't care what role he's in. I know he's going to bring a lot here to Mobile when they get down here.
And speaking, Jim, of like, peeling back that curtain a little bit and just looking in the insides of what goes on at the Senior Bowl, like what do the interactions look like between the Lions team and the Jet side? Like what do those end up being like?
Yeah, there's a lot of communication between both sides. We're all kind of in this together for the week. I mean, there will be a player swap as well. So, The Lions will get with that national roster for a good chunk on Friday. And that's where that's how the Cowboys, kind of fell in love with Dak Prescott. They I think the Broncos had Dak that week, and in the Dallas got him in the crossover, the team swap time, and they got to know the guy a little bit, and they kind of bought into his presence and what he brought, his charisma, and they've referenced that. Jerry Jones himself, has said that the reason Dak Prescott became a Cowboy in the 3rd round or 4th round, whatever that was of the time they spent with him here in Mobile. So the Lions will get that opportunity with all those guys on the national roster as well.
Well, while we're talking about how those separate rosters, can you maybe also give a little background into how that process works in terms of deciding, like, I know each team gets an input as to who they get, but how's that finally decided? Is it emails? Are you auctioning guys off? How exactly does that work?
No, we set the rosters here. That's really one of the most fun parts of the process. It's almost a year-round deal. We'll start watching the 2023 guys here in about 2 weeks after our game. So once we get them locked in and committed, then it's okay. Like, let's split these guys up, and really just to share with your listeners, like there's three criteria. First is competitive balance. Like, we want these teams to be even. We really do. The second thing is, for the American squad, we try to keep all the SEC guys on one team because that's like our driving base. Like, people can get to Mobile and and see those guys. We're in SEC country down here, so that's important. And then the third piece, we want to keep all the teammates together. We've got 7 guys from Cincinnati and 7 guys from Georgia. Like, we don't want Georgia fans tuning into our game and having 3 guys on one team and 4 on the other. So we make the rosters, and then this year, the higher picking team gets to pick his roster. And Brad had the pick this year, and he went with the American team. And I don't know why. What position group interests him. That's not my business. I don't know how they're looking at their team needs, but I think the biggest compliment I got from Brad was, he's like, Jim, I don't know which roster to pick. Like, these things are both so even. Like, he's like, I'd be really happy with either one. So that made me feel good that we did our job.
Yeah.
And there are trade scenarios. There was a trade made this year. Not going to say that. I'm never going to talk about it.
All right, fair enough.
But it was a 1-for-1 trade for a player. I mean, maybe after the draft they'll talk about it if one of the teams ends up with one of the guys that was involved in the swap. But it was funny, the first year here, John Gruden came out like he wanted to trade half his roster, I felt like. And I was like, John, come on now. Like, we had a bunch of Washington guys in the game that year, and he wanted one particular Washington guy. I'm like, you can't just trade for one. You got to get all of them. So anyway, no, this was we work through that. If there's a guy on the other team and we can do a 1-for-1 swap and the teams can agree to it, or a 2-for-2, and it's kind of easy, we do that. But that's fun. That's a fun part of the process too. It really is. It makes this thing a lot of fun.
That's just a question we got to run up the flagpole, Jeremy.
Yeah.
We're asking Brad Holmes who he traded for.
Exactly. That's number one question we're gonna ask him. But
good luck with that one.
Yeah, right. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna get into that roster. We're gonna talk about some of the guys that are gonna be down there that are on the American team, maybe some that are on the national as well, that the Lions might be interested. So stick with us right here on First Bite. We'll be back with Jim Nagy. And welcome back to First Bite. We are here with Senior Bowl Executive Director Jim Nagy, talking about the Senior Bowl. Coming up next week, the Lions are obviously coaching it up with the Jets. The Lions have the American roster. We got to start at quarterback here. The Lions may or may not be in the they might draft a quarterback. We're still kind of not sure. And to me, I since we can't touch on everybody, I want to talk. And maybe this is just a favor to Ryan, who's a big fan. We got to talk Malik Willis because, he comes from Liberty, not one of the best teams in college football. Maybe doesn't go up against the best competition. Everyone said didn't have a great offensive line in Liberty. Now he gets this all-star team in Senior Bowl. So just how big of a week do you think this is for Malik Willis, and how excited are you personally to see the kid play?
Yeah, before we dive into Malik, I'm going to ask you guys. I'm flipping the script. Are they drafting a quarterback or not? Should they?
If I had to guess right now, I think Brad Holmes is pretty happy with the way Jared Goff finished that season, and he wants to see him ride out one more year. But I mean, as Brad Holmes said last year, it's good football business when you're picking high in the draft to do your research on quarterbacks, and so I have no doubt he's going to have a keen eye. And if someone pops off, like, I don't think you should rule it out.
All right, fair enough. I put you guys. Ryan, what's your take, Ryan?
I hope he drafts Malik Willis. I'll be honest. I mean, the bias is well established on our podcast, Jim, but like a guy like Malik who has the opportunity to go down there and by all accounts has all the raw physical tools. Like now the coaching staffs get an opportunity to know him, the person, and to learn a little bit more about, his football traits. So, I mean, tell us what you know so far about Malik and what you're looking forward to learn about him this week.
Yeah, our staff saw Malik, I think 3 times total. We had 3 different guys go watch him live. I went and saw him play UAB. And I tweeted that out at the time. Like, I've never gone to a game for a live quarterback eval and walked away with the main takeaway was just how strong he was. This dude he is put together now. Like I met him over the summer at 2 camps. He was at the Manning camp in July. And then Steve Clarkson's QB retreat out in Santa Monica over Memorial Day weekend. And I mean, he is a big, thick guy now. And he's really hard to get on the ground. They're different body types, of course, because Ben was like 6'6" and Malik's probably 6'2"-ish. But like really like Roethlisberger, when I scouted him at Miami, Ohio, like he makes throws with guys draped around his legs and falling off of them. And there was a play in that UAB game where I think there was like 7 or 8 guys that had a chance to wrap him up and get him down, and he was just shrugging guys off. So a lot of guys can buy second chances with their legs. Like he buys second and third chances with just like his physical structure and his legs. Like you said, I mean, yeah, he does have all the tools. There's no doubt, Ryan. He's big, he's strong, he can run. He can be a dynamic runner. He's got a very strong arm. So I think all you have to do is watch this weekend in football and watch what like some of these guys are doing right now. I mean, Josh Allen's a perfect example. So, a lot of people knock Malik for consistency and accuracy and, how far can he get? I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but people have the same questions with Josh. So to sit here right now and say that Malik Willis will never be that guy, we can't say that. And I've read that on social media. You see people just, getting after some of the guys in this class. So I'm with you. There's a lot to like. We had, they played in the bowl game down here against Eastern. So saw him play that there as well. And we actually took the Liberty staff out to lunch one day here in Mobile and really got to pick their brains about Malik and his background and everything he'd done there. So, and they rave about him. They rave about the person. So this will be a big week for Brad and those guys and Dan to really get to know him.
All right, let's move on to wide receiver. Obviously, one of the bigger needs for the Lions roster with a bunch of guys on 1-year deals potentially expiring in March. So it seems like the Lions got someone in Amon-Ra St. Brown, but do you have a guy on either roster, American preferred, but either roster that you think complements his game particularly well?
Yeah, there's a couple guys. I mean, you've got a bunch of them I really like, but I'm looking up at the board, so sorry about my eyes kind of wander the boards.
I got a cheat sheet over here too, so it's all good.
Yeah. A name that I don't see a lot out there, guys, that I think is going to have a breakout week, and by the time we get to April, is going to be he's going to go on day 2, in my estimation, is Danny Gray from SMU. Okay. Danny was a junior college guy, so when we started watching 2020 tape over the summer, you were looking at a player that had come out of junior college. COVID had hit, so he couldn't even be around the team that year, and basically joined SMU in August and went to camp and got rolled out. That's a tough situation. Made a ton of flash plays on tape that year. You saw how explosive he was. Like to me, I didn't get to see St. Brown play a ton. He wasn't a senior last year. We didn't evaluate him for the Senior Bowl. I caught a couple late Lions games on TV, but that's not really scouting. I haven't really watched tape on the Lions, but he looks like a really strong, good guy with the ball in his hands, intermediate receiver. Yep. I think Danny complements him because he can roll. I mean, Danny is explosive from the jump. I mean, he can get off the line, he can get downfield. He's got multiple gears. He's got true playmaking upside. A lot of guys, you look at these guys, like, yeah, he'll be a good 2 or 3 in the league. Like, Danny's got a really high ceiling, and how long it takes him to get there. And if he ever gets there, I think will depend on, the person. I think the ceiling is dictated by the football makeup and how these guys are wired. But talent wise, Danny Gray, just in terms of what he can do with the ball in his hands and stretching the field, I think he'd be a great compliment for what St. Brown has shown what he can be for Detroit.
Let's flip things to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about the defense and what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and company have on the American team. The Lions have a huge need at linebacker, Jim. Some underwhelmed by American team linebackers when we got the rosters in Lions Twitter, but like everybody is just a guy who is just flat out fast. Like, who are some players that, that people are overlooking right now when they look at that roster and they see that depth chart at linebacker and they're underwhelmed? Who are they obviously missing?
All of them. No, there's a few. So like Channing Tindall from Georgia, totally overshadowed by Nakobe Dean there at Georgia. We all kind of talked in reference of the front seven at Georgia this year, like not many named. Like, I think Devontae Wyatt's going to have a monster week down here in one-on-ones, but like, Channing Tindall's a guy that wasn't even a full-time starter at the beginning of the year. He's 238 pounds. He's going to run in the high 4.4s now. He's going to run better than some of your corners on that Lions roster, I promise you. When he's in chase mode, when he's running and hitting, and I say this, and I don't say this, I'm saying this very carefully. I missed on Bobby Wagner coming out of Utah State. And then I was with him for 5 years in Seattle. Like, when this guy's running and hitting people, he looks like Bobby Wagner. I mean, he's 4.47 to the football from the second level is crazy. Yeah. So, like, don't discount Channing Tindall and what he can be. I mean, there's always a handful of guys that the league is different on than the media right now, and the media usually catches up over the course of the spring.
Right.
I think Channing Tindall is going to be one of those guys. I think Chad Muma from Wyoming. Is he on the American International? I'm trying to remember now.
He is on, I believe. I think he's on the National.
Okay,
yeah,
you guys got
fine.
JoJo Doman from Nebraska,
that's right? Yep, that's right.
Yes, yep.
So JoJo's another guy. Like, I've seen some stuff like being a mid to late day 3 guy for JoJo Doman. That's lunacy to me. He's one of our favorite guys in the building here. One of our staff, like our road scouts, one of the guys that did that part of the country, one of his favorite guys. He's a 235-pound guy that essentially played slot corner. He was out there expanded out on slots and covering tight ends. I mean, there's plays where he's running 45 yards vertically with tight ends and intercepting the ball that far down the field, which you never see linebackers intercept the ball that far down the field. And then, he's matching up and matching routes, matching backs out of the backfield. Like, if people think that a 6'1", 235-pound guy that runs and covers like that is going to get it out of the third round, they're crazy. Like, this kid is such a good football player that that's another guy I'd be excited about. Damone Clark, the SEC's leading tackler from LSU, another guy just run and hit linebacker. We questioned Damone's instincts off his junior tape, just kind of his processing some of the delays. And man, there was a huge difference this year. And he's another guy that can really close. You look at all his production behind the line of scrimmage. There are a number of immediate starters in that group for the Detroit Lions. If they need immediate help, just from like an athleticism and speed perspective, there's numerous guys on that group that'll come in and could start for the Lions right away.
I have to imagine Chris Spielman's going to make his way down there next week, and sounds like he'll be rubbing his hands to get his hands on some of these guys because, I think they are going to be speed is something that they obviously covet with Derek, drafting Derek Barnes last year. And
oh, my God.
Yeah.
Love Derek Barnes.
Yeah. Lions fans are very, very excited about him. I think year one was rough for him because obviously, he came from Purdue where he only played off-ball linebacker 1 year, but you saw the flashes almost immediately with a guy like that. And I think the way you describe some of these guys, it sounds like the Lions could be, in the market for a clone of him, essentially.
Derek Barnes was one of my favorite picks of last year's draft for any team.
Yeah.
They just need to play the guy.
Yeah.
They just need to play him. You got to play young players, man. You got to let young guys you make mistakes and get out there and learn.
Yeah.
You know, during my time in Seattle, that's one thing that was like a mantra of Pete Carroll. Like, let's play our young guys. Let's get them out there. You look at that wave that ended up being the Legion of Boom defense. Those guys were all playing.
Yep.
Cam Chancellor was playing as a 5th round pick, and Sherm was playing as a 5th round pick, and you know, all those guys. They just get them out there and let them play. They need to play Derek Barnes, man. He's going to be a really good Detroit Lion.
Yeah, and I think we heard Aaron Glenn say those exact words several times last year. You can't be afraid to play your young players, and so I think we are going to see a lot of him next year. But anyways, let's get back. And I feel like you've already kind of jumped ahead on my question list here a couple times without even knowing it. But everyone loves sleepers. Everyone loves guys that no one's ever heard of, or you know, guys that are being overlooked that are suddenly going to pop off. So who is someone you think that you haven't already mentioned that maybe isn't being talked about enough and is going to prove that he should be talked about next week?
Well, you know, we can talk about the American roster a little bit, but I'll just keep it in the home state.
Sure.
Up in Mount Pleasant. Bernard Raymond is a guy that's gotten a lot of attention, you know, at left tackle. I want to talk about the other guy. I want to talk about Luke Gadecki and what he is at right tackle. This is a guy that, as much as we like Bernard a ton now, but there's people in the league that I've talked to, and even one of the guys on our staff, that think Luke's going to be a better long-term pro than Bernard is. And that's tough. And they're both going to be starters. Both those guys are going to be NFL starters, but Luke's kind of flying under the radar right now. I think he's going to play some center down here, play guard, play tackle. Just a really natural football player. And he's just growing into himself, former tight end. He's still learning how to be a big person and play with leverage and all those things. But no, he's got a big upside. You know, I just wanted to keep it there with the chips a little bit.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But in terms of that American roster and some of the guys they'll be working with, man, there's a number of them.
I know, making you like pick your favorite child. I don't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, you know, I'll say this. Like, here's one for you: Zaquandre White, a running back from South Carolina, who we just added today.
Yeah, I just saw that tweet go up. Yeah.
Yeah. So so Zaquandre's coming in. This is a guy that played linebacker in the past. He's played on both sides of the ball, which obviously helps with the immediate special teams part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get to the combine, he's going to jump 43 inches. He's going to run. I mean, this dude, you put on his tape, this dude is so explosive. So I don't know how old you guys are, but there used to be one of Barry's backups was a guy named Derek Moore back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think Derek wore number 31, if memory serves me right. He's the team pastor at South Carolina now. And he is just like, we change on offense when we put Zaquandre White into the game. Like, he's got such presence and such juice about him. Like, even talking to the coaches there, even on the practice field, like, this guy is wired up, and it's so, when you put on the tape, like, it's so obvious how explosive he is. He hasn't got a lot of run. It's kind of like Chris Evans from Michigan last year. We brought him down here. People thought we were stupid for bringing in a guy with 17 carries in Ann Arbor, you know, and now here he is, you know, doing good things for the Cincinnati Bengals. So Zaquandre's got a lot of tread left on his tires. He hasn't toted the ball a bunch, but just the upside that we're talking about, like a 220-pound guy that's super explosive, and that's what the league's looking for. I mean, you see it over and over, these guys that are day 3 picks, and I don't know where Zaquandre is going to go. I've talked to teams that have 3rd round grades on him. So, you know, he's probably a day 3 guy right now. We'll see where he can go with it, but that's a guy I think's under a lot of radars right now, and I'm really excited to see him down here with the Lions next week.
Yeah, Jim, I just want to thank you for your time, man. It's so awesome. I know, you know, our Twitch audience, they've funded Jeremy's trip to head down to Mobile.
Awesome.
And I know Jeremy's really excited, even though he's not such a draft guy. He's locked in, man.
This is my baptism year. This is where I become a full draft Nick. So I guess my last question to you is do you have any advice for myself? And you know, there are a lot of people that love going down to the Senior Bowl or would love to go down to the Senior Bowl. So for people that want to come down there, for people like me that's going to be a rookie down there, what's your best advice for people just trying to get involved?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we haven't done a great job of over the years is really promoting this as a fan event. I mean, I think everyone knows tons of media coverage down here, and all the, we've got 900 NFL people down here. But if you're a fan of football, to be able to, like, the windows behind me is our main drag in Mobile, Dolphin Street. And you go up and down, there's tons of bars and restaurants. You can go into any bar and there'll be like 3 NFL head coaches sitting there having a beer together. Like, you're really like, you're in the NFL epicenter. It's not like the Combine where it's Indianapolis, it's a big city, it's spread out. I always tell you could put a lawn chair out in front of our offices here and you'd see every single head coach and GM pass by at some point during the week, some owners even. So, we've built it out. We've got the Senior Bowl Summit on Tuesday, February 1st. Kirk Herbstreit's going to be hosting these panels. We're going to have Nick Saban and Mel Tucker and James Franklin, and it's going to be a great crew. That's going to be a really fun event at a historic theater downtown Mobile here. And then we've got the Players Mardi Gras Parade on Friday night, because Mobile's the home of Mardi Gras. We take a lot of pride in that down here. It's not New Orleans. We're a little more of a PG version of Mardi Gras, more family centric Mardi Gras. But we'll have that parade on Friday night. It's going to end with a concert with Portugal the Man downtown here.
Nice.
We're expecting like 40,000 people. Free concert downtown Mobile, in an area downtown called the Cathedral Square, right across from where I was married 20 years ago down here. And and then obviously the game on Saturday. The game's going to be awesome. Being out at the brand new stadium, last year we were in there, but it was COVID and we were at a limited capacity. So to fill that thing out, sell it out, game day is going to be rocking. It's going to be a good time.
That's awesome. I might have to change my flight ticket because I'm leaving Friday afternoon. I'm going to miss out on Portugal the Man. But anyways, Jim, definitely appreciate all the time you just gave us, all the information you just gave us. And I look forward to seeing you down there in person next week.
Yeah, man, you got to get your Twitch guys to fund that flight change, whatever, that $150 fee to change that flight to come in. You got to get the Twitch guys to jump in on that. But guys, I appreciate you having me on Talking Lions. I love it. So look forward to having the Lions and all the contingent down. And Jeremy, when you get down here next week, make sure you hit me up.
Absolutely, I will.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you,
yeah,
Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, everybody, to listening. We'll be back with more Lions content later this week on the podcast. We'll also be doing a bunch of stuff for the conference championship games on Sunday here on our Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. But until next time, thank you all for listening. It's chaos. Be kind.